everything is marketing. Marketing is everything. We're marketing to get the new patient in, sure, but we want to get the returning patient back as a 10-year annuity on top of the new patients that come in 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 18 months from now.
This is Growth in Dentistry, a dental intelligence podcast where we ask the question, what does growth in dentistry look like to you? I'm Katie Polson, a dental hygienist and your host. Welcome to another episode of Growth in Dentistry. I'm Katie Polson, and our theme for April was on marketing your practice, and we are now into May, but I just couldn't let the opportunity for our audience to hear from John Christensen from ChrisAd. So before we get to that, I just wanted to remind you to rate and review this podcast. We read every one of them, and come join our Facebook dental intelligence community and come join like-minded data nerds, and we can come learn from one another. So that being said, we're so excited to have John Christensen from ChrisAd. If you know even a pinky's worth about marketing, you've probably heard about ChrisAd. So we're really excited to have him here. So welcome. Please please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this crazy world of marketing and dentistry.
Well, I'm just a marketing guy, right? But I started out going straight out of undergraduate school into law school, and boom, and all, but by the time I was in law school, I was running all sorts of ridiculously powerful marketing entities while I was in law school. And I just said, what the heck, what am I doing? So I looked for the best marketing graduate program I thought in the world that I could figure out at the time using the Dewey Decimal System or whatever. And I ended up at Northwestern University, Northwestern University in their graduate school of advertising and marketing. And spent a year there. And, it was during a recession. It was 1980. And I got jobs out in New York, but they weren't great jobs in Chicago. But I took a really crappy job in Los Angeles. But, before I knew it, I was doing side work that was pretty significant. I was making money as an independent contractor. So I had a couple bucks laying around because one of my photos won a worldwide contest, and I saved money from in the past and so forth. And I started a company from nothing in 1980 to do marketing for whoever would pay me to do marketing. And before I knew it, I was working with a bunch of dentists. And the odd thing was, even going back 42 years, is some dentists that I would do what was by my training, the best marketing in the world for these practices. Some guys would tenfold increase in size, and some guys would actually decline after the marketing. And, in the advertising agency world, which I'm kind of brought up into, is you're supposed to sort of wash your hands of the whole thing and just say, what the heck, and walk away from it. But I really couldn't do that. It didn't seem right, didn't seem fair, because how good is marketing going to be if something that's kind of unknown is causing it to work in some cases and then down the road not work? And we wanted to know the variables on that. So we've been doing massive research, massive database mining for 42 years to figure out what's going on, what the differences are. So we're now, I guess we're in 7-8 countries, and every state. We got 1,500 clients or so. All we do is dentistry. I found out around 82, I was the only guy to do this. So I go, this is pretty exciting to be the only guy, and, theoretically the largest guy. And we had all this, we could take all of our assets from this industry and funnel it into one research central area. So we do so much research, it's ridiculous. We have massive amount of data. And we help our guys like crazy. We commonly will take a scratch office, meaning from 0 to 400,000 first month. The fastest one we ever grew was up to $1 million first month. We've exceeded 1,000 new patients first month on scratch offices. We have many clients that now grow by well over $5 million a year. We've just started a lot of what's now the largest practices in the world, and manage them still, and have a lot of fun doing it. It's really, really fun.
It's a good story.
Yeah, it's
it really is.
It's fun, and I love working with dentists. These guys are great. I'm honored to work alongside of them. My mission now, and our company's mission now, is basically taking care of them from almost a humanitarian perspective, because if they stay in the chair too long, Katie, as you know, it's not real good. So we have to get them out of the chair and have their incomes increase. So
Yeah.
Been working on that a lot lately.
Yeah, really great. Well, so a few weeks back, Jen and I had an opportunity, a really great conversation to talk about practices and marketing. And he sent over this amazing list that one day we'll do a webinar and we'll talk about the 12 ways that all of these awesome things that we talked about. But I just wanted to focus on a couple of them today. And we're going to talk mainly about patients in the practice and what you were referring to, which is getting doctors to the term work smarter, not harder is so overused, but that's kind of what we're talking about today. So
Yeah.
let's start, I guess, first with learning to attract like the very best patients.
Well, it's not only attracting them, it's
Yeah.
also keeping them too. Because if you've attracted this asset that is worth X dollars, if they come back every year, our data shows that the value per year is worth exactly the same, if not slightly more, every year they return. So the new patients is one part of the formula, but returning patients is actually a more important part of the formula. So
yeah,
pretty easy to get them. All you have to do is just market to them and invite them in using scientifically proven, word strings and colors and pictures and so forth and so on. It's most likely to get them in. We use media that actually reaches out and grabs the marketplace. And we have to make sure the appointments are available for them that they want these days. And as I'll show you here in a second, the marketplace is completely shifted with regards to their, oh wow, I can't move this anymore. Oh well, I can't access my screen. So anyway, the data shows that new patients are slightly more valuable than returning patients, and there's overwhelming data, not only in terms of research that what the marketplace tells us they want and are going to accept, versus and also looking also at data out of thousands of offices, is they meaning the public, will not take off work or school to go to a dentist anymore for a cleaning, but it's through the cleaning that the work is found and the referral occurs. So, our practices that do the best, we've isolated through our database studies that the people who come in the evenings and weekends are about 3 times as valuable than the ones middle of the week. Their insurance maximums are far more likely to be far higher, and I can give you the specifics if you ever want. And their insurance reimbursement is far higher per procedure to the practice too. So we focus on getting these wealthy subsector of the marketplace into the practice. The ones that are essentially 9 to 5, Monday through Friday practices are really swimming upstream. It's a tough deal. There's not much that can be done to get the American public, or really the world public, in a dental practice to take off work or take off school to go to a dentist. For instance, just the other day, my 8-year-old, we took her out of school to go up to Tahoe or something for a half hour early or something. They sent me a truancy notice. Now, our school district is not the most impoverished school district in the world. So if I'm getting it, it means everyone else is getting them too, because they don't get their federal money if the kids get taken out of school. Massive pressure for people to not let their employees take off work. And then when we survey tens of thousands of consumers over multiple years, they're basically telling us there's no way in the world, if I'm working, that I'm going to take off work to go to the dentist. So you better give me an evening appointment. You better give me a weekend appointment, or you're not going to see me. So this holds true. This is corroborated by horrible retention numbers in these practices. If you'd like me to talk about that, it's really the heart of the whole deal. Is you can't get a doctor out of the chair if they don't get the new patient flow in, but also keep the patients cumulatively over the years.
Yeah. I think it's valuable to talk about that, because I think when we talk about marketing, so much of it is focused on bringing people in, but the retention aspect is that, like you said, the most important part.
Yeah, it really is, because it's like, if you get, our common practice will get maybe, let's say 1,500, 1,700 new patients a year. And those have an average value in the United States of around $1.3 million at normative data levels. And if you take those guys and don't nurture them and manage them properly, it's like taking a $1.3 million sack of gold and throwing it out in the bay or something. It's really ridiculous. But it's just, they're so mismanaged. It's not even funny. Now, so you guys will understand that over the past 4 decades, 5 decades in the academic world of marketing, there's no longer such a thing as advertising. It doesn't really exist anymore without an understanding of the integrated components related to what the advertising is actually selling. In other words, in simple terms, is if I do the best marketing in the world using the best media in the world, but the office that I'm marketing doesn't answer the phones at all, or properly, or has no appointments that the marketplace wants that are immediately available, nothing's going to happen to the practice. So everything has to be managed from an integrated perspective, long term. And any marketing you do to get new patients in the door also has to be marketing to get existing patients to return. Because why spend money on marketing to get new patients when statistically and cumulatively returning patients are more valuable? So in other words, you got to say a new patient in a practice, average new patient in a practice is worth around $800 in the United States. That's actuarially shown. In other words, on it, some guys you'll go all day and have a bunch of zeros, then you'll have a 5,000, then you'll have a 2,000, but the average will be around 800 in the United States. So you get 1,000 of those patients, that's $800,000, but it's $800,000 over a 10-year period, puts it closer to like around $8 million. It's a lot of money to not pay close attention to. It's a marketing asset that has to be managed. And if the dear doctor who's working too hard these days and not thinking straight because they're working too hard, doesn't understand that we have to retain these patients cumulatively into the future, then it's an asset. It's a stock certificate, or it's a sack of gold or a sack of diamonds. They have to manage these guys right so that they'll understand, basically ways by which they can add more associate doctors to very easily replace their current income. And if it keeps going as a compounding annuity, sooner or later, you're going to find that that one doctor who was working his tail off, his income's doubled or tripled, and he doesn't have to be in the chair. And we have many hundreds of practices that have done this, and we're very proud and happy for this. Many of our guys don't even live in the same state where they practice, and rarely go to their office, but they just basically have great managers that are properly compensated, great staff that are properly compensated. By the way, the best managerial system is a good incentive system. And I'm just telling you, and because I've been watching, I usually see about 1,000 practices a year, mostly in office. I go out every day. I'm going to Nashville on Monday. I was in Italy yesterday, but that's another deal. But I go everywhere. I go everywhere always to see how these guys are doing. I love these guys. It's very important to me this. But if they, if they don't figure out how to retain their patients and get associates, it's not going to be a nice outcome for them. It's not good at all.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Just touch on two things here. I love that you focus on this. First of all, John, a lot of marketers don't.
No.
And you could say, a dentist could say, hey, I will be happy. I'll be growing at the rate that I want to if I get to 100 new patients a month. And what they don't realize is that, if let's say they maintain the status quo, they're reappointing at 80%. Yeah. You reach an active patient base where 100 new patients a month is keeping you the exact same as the number of patients that are walking out the door, because you're not paying attention to the back door.
They don't know the back door.
Right. They don't, unless you know it and can track it and are focusing on it and are focusing on the appointment that creates the experience that no one wants to walk out the back door. Yeah. Then you're going to have to continue new patient growth to try to grow at the same rate that you've been growing, rather than retaining patients. So
it's a hamster wheel.
It is. Yeah. I love that you've pointed that out.
Yeah. All marketing has to be cognizant of the importance of retaining the patients and remarketing to the existing patient base. But the biggest failures, I sense you understand, Adam, is the practice's reluctance to add appointments that allows the returning patients to return when they want to, plus to allow the new patients to get in when they need to as well. So that failure is where most of the attrition in practice growth will occur. Yeah. We have like around 60 practices a month that come to us and want us to help them grow. And almost every one of them has a declining hygiene department. And so if they got whatever flow of new patients they had over the previous year, whether it's even if it's like 5 a month, it's still 50, it's still 60. And if that's not added on in the next year or 6 months later, that's where the real issue lies with a lot of these guys. So this is what we call integrated marketing. Everything is marketing. Marketing is everything. We're marketing to get the new patient in, sure, but we want to get the returning patient back as a 10-year annuity on top of the new patients that come in 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 18 months from now, things like that. This is where the fun really happens. That's how these guys are getting out of the chair and increasing their income and living in Florida or wherever the hell they want to live. They can do that. But it's scientifically micromanaging this process, which is providing wonderful rewards. We're so proud of it and so happy with these guys. Very happy.
That's awesome.
It's really fun, man. Telling you.
Yeah, that's the fun part, is to see them grow the way they're hoping to grow.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're treated like, like family or celebrities or something everywhere we go. If they do what we tell them to do, there's never been a case where the practice hasn't done well. I mean, extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
Largest in their area, largest in their state. But the real key is as Katie and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, is we don't want to see these dear doctors who were kind of like extraordinarily well educated in the area of clinical care, which is just such a blessing. And they're such wonderful clinicians and wonderful people. We don't want to see them get blindsided by some pretty basic and fundamental business opportunities they really weren't qualified to or educated to understand. It's our job to teach them these things in ways they understand and implement them in the practices, so that the new marketing patient we get stays in the practice for a 10-year span rather than just one and done, which never make any sense.
And on top of that, not that they're not educated to get it or want to get it, but getting that information out of their practice management system, if that's all they're using, is next to impossible.
We wouldn't have been able to do it without these great practice management systems. We can't right now. I will routinely print out lists of patients that have been in the practice for last 5 years, and by name, phone number, address, cell phone number, email address, and we print it on a stack of paper, and commonly the stack of paper is that big, and we'll plop it on their desk and say, these are guys that when came into your practice and they haven't come back, and they should come back, but they don't have a future appointment. They haven't been in 8 months. What's the deal here? You're not pre-appointing properly. You're not expanding your capacities properly. And then commonly the value of these stacks will be well in excess of $10 million. Mm-hmm. And they're worried about what they have to pay a hygienist or something, extra $1,000 a month or something. It just doesn't make any sense. And the pathway, which is most important to me, is these dear doctors are able to get out of the chair, reduce their chair time. See what happens when they work too hard. And I've done this more than anybody in the world. I can tell you, the problem is these guys don't think as straight and clearly as they would if they weren't putting their fingers in people's stinky mouths all day long. It's really a pain in the butt that I didn't realize, and most dentists didn't realize how tough a deal it is. It hurts their backs, hurts their arms, their eyes don't focus. It's not as much fun as they thought it would be when they were in high school or undergraduate school. It's not. We want to give them the opportunity to step away and let younger people do it, but not have their income be mitigated. And we're very proud of the accomplishments we've made in that area. Very, very proud.
To be proud of.
Yeah, I'm real happy with it. Why I still do this. It's my 42nd year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do we have time for?
Yeah.
So one thing that I feel like we glanced over a little bit, but that's a little bit counterintuitive to probably what the majority of our listeners and the majority of dentists in general do, is you mentioned, so let's say I'm a dentist that I don't have enough patients to fill an entire week's schedule. What I typically see is I'm going to contract my hours. I'll usually start at the same time, so 8, and I'll contract to 3 or 2. And now this is opposite of what you're suggesting, because I'm just getting less and less hours available when people are available.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that transition.
It's a great question, Adam. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. It is suicidal to contract your hygiene schedule. It's inherent that your number of your hygiene exams will decrease. So it's really unlikely that your practice is going to grow. Some of these guys take a look at things from a perspective of profitability, and they're too tightly wound on the bottom line, and it's suicidal to do that stuff. You have to sort of invest in the future in order to have a better future, and you're not going to be making millions by look at pennies on the floor. So essentially, long and short of it is that the dental marketplace, the dental public, there's about roughly 80% are in working and are in school that will not take off work or school to go to the dentist. So if you try to fill a midday, midweek schedule, again, like I said earlier, you're swimming upstream. It really isn't going to happen. We don't see it working anywhere. Maybe a couple of retirement areas here or there, or something like that, but 99% of the marketplace, just forget it. In fact, we're running studies right now to justify the recommendation of shutting down the practice for hygiene between the hours around 10 and 4 o'clock. Many of our practices do. Our fastest growing practices don't do hygiene between 10 and 4, 10 and 3, around through there, because cancellation no-show rate's so high and the production per hygiene check is so low. It's about a third of that of the evening and the weekends on average. So why push a rope uphill? Doesn't make sense. So if they're trying to fill those schedules, it's not going to happen. But I can make a guarantee to anybody, anytime, that if they open up an evening schedule for hygiene, don't say stupid things on the phone. Just clean the phones up, and open up a Saturday schedule or whatever. We'll fill 100% of the chairs every time. We do it all day long everywhere, and these are the best patients. You do the work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, but you do the hygiene checks on the weekends and the evenings. Our practices that have all chairs, all hygiene after about 5:30 in the evening weekdays, and have, all chairs. We have some up to 18, 20, 25, 35 chairs, all hygiene, all weekends. These are the ones that are growing by $5 million a year, because A, patients won't cancel as much. They'll still cancel, not as much, but B, the probability of higher production per hygiene check is much greater during these evenings and weekends, and they just prosper. Prosper. And as the practices, we had one up in Toronto go to, just the last month, go to 1.35 million per chair per year on a 1.35 million per chair per year on a 12 chair practice. And we have a lot of them at $1 million per chair per year, but they're not going to do that with a midday, midweek hygiene schedule. It's the people who make the most money, have the best insurance, have the copays don't matter to them because they make so much money. They don't have time to bicker with you. They trust you more, things like that. And they have to be pre-appointed to those hours too. So you alluded earlier, Adam, to an 80% or 90% or 100% pre-appointment statistic. That statistic on its face is not as valid as a statistic that will take into consideration that of the overall percentage that are pre-appointed, you've got to have around 80% pre-appointed into weekends or evenings. Otherwise, your retention will fall apart, unfortunately, because that's not only what the public's telling us definitively, but that's how they're acting. Thank God for your databases. It shows us how they're acting. They cancel, they no-show, don't come back. It's interesting.
I love that.
So it's very counterintuitive, and I'm the bearer of bad news, but I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it's not something that a lot of people want to hear, because most dentists they want to be in healthcare, but they don't want to work crazy hours. And they don't want to have confrontation with people. And so that's why they choose dentistry. Right. And so it's a tricky thing. I want to point out, and just my personal experience, right? So my dad owned a practice. He worked 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday. Friday was business time. My brother graduated from dental school, and my brother immediately took on, and my dad had a small amount of growth. I mean, he was just a single, it was a 3-chair practice. They remodeled the practice. My brother joined. My brother mainly did evenings and weekends.
Good.
And we blew up. And now we offer evenings and weekends. The hygienists work evenings and weekends. We have associates that are there. My brother owns the practice, does not work the evenings and weekends, but he has associates that do.
How many chairs do you have now?
We have 8. Yeah. So as unpopular as it is to work evenings and weekends, I have seen it personally of like what it can do to the growth of your practice. And somebody, I right out of hygiene school, that's all I worked was evenings and weekends. And I worked one Saturday a month forever for 16 years because honestly and truly, the patients are better.
Yeah, they are.
They're so
They're
much
wealthier,
more
better
fun.
educated.
They're so appreciative that you're there on the weekend. It was just a totally different vibe.
They're not worried about
Yeah.
going back to work or missing a meeting because you're running.
Yeah.
late.
They're also
Yeah.
just not super worried about, they're
Money.
just less worried about money, right? So
Yeah.
you, can
Yeah.
just- you don't
They
have
have
to
more
tiptoe,
money.
you don't have to tiptoe around what you're trying to, what you want to, what they should do. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to present the treatment always, but you don't have to tiptoe around it as much when you're talking to someone who comes in on the nights and weekends. And I noticed that as a hygienist, I was so much more relaxed on the weekends and nights when I was working.
Yeah. You
So-
know, universally though, Katie, and you understand this, I think, but we have to pay all staff more money to work the weekends because
Yes.
that's not the and the evenings because that's not what they expected in their career to have to do. But the marketplace has shifted by all ways we can define it, shifted real radically over the last, particularly 20 years. And you know, this is the way the market is, and we're not going to try to sell a great steak dinner at 3:00 in the afternoon. It's got to be when the marketplace wants to come in. We can't fight the marketplace. They don't trust dentists the way they used to, unfortunately, as well. And I know I'm the bearer of bad news, but we have study after study after study. And our studies over the last 15 years have been done in conjunction with Northwestern University's Graduate School of Integrated Marketing and Communications. And we got best interns in the world come through with the deans and so forth come through. They really don't know anything about dentistry, but they do a lot of research and pretty non-biased. They come up with this data that, you know, it's pretty accurate. And the reason we know it's pretty accurate is because it comes up the same way exactly when it's asked year over year, using the same methodology. And we apply the findings from the research into the practices. And if practice conforms with our recommendations, they grow way beyond their wildest expectations. But like you alluded to, guys, we're not telling them what they want to hear. We're telling them what they need to hear. And, you know, I'm not Tinkerbell. I'm going to say, go do a little dance out there and you'll have all these magic patients, or you'll have is $30,000 cases all day long. It just doesn't exist anymore for a long list of reasons, which I'm happy to go into, but it would waste too much time.
Well, we definitely need to have him on again. And I would love to do a full webinar with you, an hour long. Would be great. Will you for those that have been watching, they see this little tie in this amazing quote here for us.
Well, we just don't want these guys to have their life expectations slide behind them. We don't want to have them miss out on this opportunity. Huge opportunity to really well right now, not have to be in the chair. But, you know, sure, you can sell your practice and get a bunch of money, but, you know, you're going to live another 30 years. What if your practice was giving you increasing amounts of money each of those 30 years and you don't have to pay taxes on it because you got a good accountant, and your asset 30 years from now will be 30 times bigger, and then you sold? And wouldn't that be a better life? So that's kind of our view.
Yeah. He has this quote up for those that are listening that says, "Hell is truth seen too late."
Yeah.
Which is very true.
By Thomas Hobbes, one of my favorite philosophers.
Yeah. Well, so John, we asked the same question. We asked the same question at the end of the podcast to everyone, it means something different to everyone. So what does growth in dentistry mean to John Christensen?
Growth in dentistry for the practice means that it's very likely that these dear friends and clients of ours aren't going to have to kill themselves anymore, and they're going to be able to have increased incomes without having to actually touch a patient unless they want to. They want to, fine, but I don't want them to have them, you know, shackled to the chair. I want to have them give the opportunity to spend time with their families and keep their sanity and keep their health. Really, health is a big issue. With so many clients, we see a lot of health issues, and it's very unpleasant. I don't like it. So growth means giving them the opportunity to really prosper and take care of the public better, because, you know, without getting in a huge discussion of the health benefits of going to the dentist, they are significant. So we're helping out the public, helping out these practices, and having a lot of fun at the same time. So growth that's what it's all about.
That's really cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Well, this has been Growth in Dentistry, a dental intelligence podcast. Again, thank you so much for John Christensen from ChrisAd for joining us. John, if they want to contact you, how do they do that?
Well, you can text me. I'm just, maybe you think I'm inaccessible, but I'm not. It's really important that I answer questions myself on my cell phone, which I can't show you because I can't move my screen.
Go ahead. Just
It's 415-300-6388.
and we'll make sure to put that on our show notes as well so that
Cool.
people have access to that. And you can also find that information on dentalintel.com. So thank you,
Good.
Adam, for joining me today. And thank you to our marketing department for all their work on this podcast. I'm Katie Polson. Keep growing.